New anime just dropped. Like, subscribe, and enjoy.
The first thing I did as group president was make all female employees take off their tops and bare their backs because I required them to each get 9 tattoos or pack their bags and leave. Then, I dropped a fortune to hire a top-notch female tattoo artist to cover my whole body in terrifying tattoos. Left arm, the evil god; right arm, the angel chest; the Calabash boy's back; Doraemon left buttock; headless Xingtian right buttock; the 3 pure ones. And my little guy wrapped in the golden cudgel, because soon after a global blood moon would descend, and heaven and earth would mutate, every living thing would transform. The ants that were so insignificant could instantly become 100-meter beasts, even a single weed would grow into a towering tree. Countless humans would become their food, but those with tattoos were shocked to find their tattoos awakened along with them. Some had inked the 10 kings of hell and became lords of all ghosts, others had inked the divine Qilin, becoming divine beasts guarding their lands. And in my past life, because I had no tattoos, I was reduced to the lowest livestock. Now reborn 2 months before the apocalypse, I spent a fortune to hire hundreds of top tattoo artists worldwide. Now I walked to the window gazing at the blue sky and sighed. This was the only time to enjoy it. On the early morning of June 1st, a thick haze would shroud the globe. 2 months until the catastrophe. I should still have time to build a large shelter. And once the catastrophe strikes, every creature will become incredibly powerful and there will be almost nowhere left for humans. In the early apocalypse, building a shelter is the best option, so I picked up my phone and made a call. A middle-aged man's voice answered.
Hello, Chairman. What can I do for you?
Look into whether there's a large abandoned prison for sale in Longjiang City. The Hengyu Group my parents left me spans several industries, real estate being one of them. The man on the line was the general manager in charge of real estate, Wu Bingfeng.
Chairman, from what I know there are two. One is in the Gobi district of the western suburbs with a total area of over 500,000 square meters, much larger than the capital's central square, seems to be a relic of the last century. It's 245 century. Current asking price is 700 million. Other.
That one it is. I cut him off. Located in that desolate western suburb, it couldn't be more perfect.
Chairman, are you going to?
Wu Bingfeng's puzzled voice came through, without wasting words. Contact the person in charge of that prison right now and acquire it as fast as possible, then start construction. The walls need to be at least several hundred meters high. The thickness must be at least 2 meters. Built with reinforced concrete. The ground, too, and the lower and upper layers of the ground must be lined with steel plates. My goal is to build a large shelter, supplies, that kind of stuff, at least enough to feed several thousand people for 3 years. The more, the better. You know what to do, right? Wu Bingfeng on the other end was completely dumbfounded.
Chairman, I did a rough estimate, building it the way you described, plus the 700 million for the acquisition. We'll need at least another 3 to 4 billion. Have you made up your mind?
I'll give you 10 billion. Make sure it's done within 50 days. If 10 billion isn't enough, call me anytime. Remember, make it a doomsday fortress. Money's not an issue. With the company my parents left me, and my own wealth, money is just a string of numbers to me. And once the world changes, the United Nations, in order to stabilize the situation, will introduce a unified currency. By then, only gold and the like will be worth anything. I've already decided to sell the Hengyu Group. I'll use all the remaining money to buy up gold at low prices.
All right, Chairman. That's all I needed to hear. As long as we can invest money without sparing any expense, I'll personally oversee the construction. Within 10 days, I'll make sure you see an indestructible doomsday fortress.
Though Wu Bingfeng had his doubts, he knew the chairman's personality too well to ask more. He just slapped his chest and promised. As for the finance department, I'll grant you a 10 billion trading limit first. Go get it done. The sooner it's completed, the better. With that, I hung up. The shelter plans were taken care of. Now I'm just waiting for the world's top tattoo artist to arrive. Then I sat down on the luxurious sofa. I searched online for the most powerful tattoos. In the end, I chose 10 of the mightiest demon tattoos. Once these tattoos are inked on my body, when the cataclysm comes, and the tattoos awaken, I can't even imagine the power I'll wield. I remember in my past life, those who had tattoos of the Azure Dragon and Qilin all stood at the pinnacle of this world. But among the alien beasts, there were some that could rival them. On Mount Kunlun, there was a golden line serpent. In its first year, it became a flood dragon. In its second year, it became a dragon. In its third year, it evolved into a golden dragon. On Mount Ma, there was a monkey king. Unmatched in power, it ruled over all monkeys worldwide. After the world changed, wild beasts became the masters of this world. Countless colossal beast kings began to wreak havoc. At first, humanity relied on nuclear weapons and other powerful arms to deter them. Later, it was the awakened ones who protected them. In the evening, a black luxury sedan slowly pulled into the parking lot outside the villa. The front passenger door opened. The first thing I saw was a woman in a professional suit, tall and slender, a sexy woman with long, wine-red hair. A beautiful woman also got out from the back seat. The top-tier tattoo master.
This way, miss.
Su Qingyuan stepped forward and made a gesture for her to go ahead. Anna, meanwhile, looked around the surroundings. Only then did she walk toward the villa. Meanwhile, the AI had already alerted me, so I already knew that Su Qingyuan and the others had arrived. A moment later, I walked into the living room in black pajamas.
Chairman, this is Miss Tsai, the world-famous tattoo master.
Hello, Mr. Gu.
Anna stood up as well. She smiled and extended her hand. I reached out and shook it. Then, I sat down on the sofa across from her. Anna looked at me. She cut right to the chase. ENDDUB.
So, Mr. Gu, what kind of tattoo would you like?
I raised my eyes and gave a slight smile. I need 10 tattoos. They are Rahu, Yama, Evil God, Black Dragon, Death God, Asura, Hades, Skeleton Great Sage, and Nesha.
Mr. Gu, I don't know if you're superstitious.
About these tattoos I mentioned, she's actually quite knowledgeable. I took a sip of tea. You just need to focus and give me your best work. Whether they can be handled, that's my business.
Since you put it that way, Mr. Gu, then I won't say anything more.
It's been a long trip. Get some rest tonight. We'll start tomorrow at noon. How's that?
No problem.
Anna nodded, agreeing to the next afternoon. Outside my room, Su Qingyuan waited quietly. In the evening, as the sun went down, the door finally opened. Anna walked out.
How is he?
Seeing this, Su Qingyuan stepped forward and asked. Anna nodded to her.
Miss Su, your chairman's tattoo is perfectly done. This was the most focused I've ever been. Mr. Gu asked me to give you a tattoo too.
Hearing that the chairman also wanted her to get one, Su Qingyuan was stunned. You must get one. My stern voice rang out. Hearing the stern voice, Su Qingyuan reluctantly agreed.
Give me one on my arm.
A female Rakshasa. Before she could finish, I interrupted her from inside the room. Su Qingyuan stood frozen. In the end, she could only nod helplessly. Miss Su, a moment later, I walked out of the room shirtless. My body was now completely covered in tattoos. When tattoos awaken, the more powerful they are, the more pain you'll suffer. With all these tattoos, I might even explode and die. In my past life, I wasn't a superhuman. I only knew the awakening process was painful, but now I'm going all in. Do or die. Around then, I saw Anna and the others off. Su Qingyuan in the room was looking at me, very puzzled by my actions. Soon, you'll be grateful to me. I glanced at her, turned, and left. Getting her a tattoo was entirely because she'd been with me for 6 or 7 years, and she counted as a trusted aide. When you get back, tell finance to give Wu Bingfeng access to 10 billion in funds. Upon hearing this, Su Qingyuan intended to ask, but I never liked explaining, and walked quickly forward. Time flew by. Before I knew it, it was May 1st, Labor Day. On that day, as the prison project had started with great fanfare over 20 days ago, many online media outlets were covering the news. There were even many streamers broadcasting live. Thousands of workers worked in shifts day and night. In just 28 days, they'd already built more than 2/3 of it. At this rate, barring any accidents, it would be roughly completed in another 10-odd days. Ordinary people assumed these tycoons just had money to burn, and no one thought a disaster was about to befall them. And I didn't care about the outside world at all. Over this past month, I'd been working out. In my previous life, I'd also heard about tattoos, that if your physique was too weak when awakening, you might not withstand it and die. I had to, within these 2 months, get myself into top shape. Just then, a text message came in on my phone. I picked up my phone and looked, and saw there was a deposit, amounting to over $90 billion. At the same time, Su Qingyuan called. As soon as I answered, her voice came through.
Chairman, did you receive the money?
Well done. Come back soon.
Chairman, I quit.
Su Qingyuan seemed to want to say something, but in the end, she still said it. In me, Su Qingyuan now saw nothing but degeneracy. Besides, the ones who acquired Hengyu Group had offered her a high salary to stay. She was a strong-willed woman. She had no interest in staying with a man who'd sell off his parents' legacy, spending tens of billions, to develop a useless piece of land. Fine, I'll have your last month's salary transferred to your account, I said indifferently, and hung up with a blank face. Su Qingyuan's departure didn't affect my mood in the slightest. To each their own. If she leaves now, she won't be able to come back. That's just wishful thinking. Boss. At that moment, outside the villa, a burly man in a black suit walked in. I picked up my teacup and looked up with interest. How did it go?
Boss, when have I ever let you down? Ha ha ha.
Zhang Xiaohu chuckled.
All our 100-odd brothers have gotten the demon tattoo. And these brothers are all orphans. They have no attachments whatsoever. They're absolutely loyal to you, boss.
At that, he lowered his voice. Boss, is the apocalypse coming? That's right. I didn't hide it from him, because he's a brother who once took a knife for me.
No wonder you've been making such big moves, boss. So what do the tattoos have to do with it?
Zhang Xiaohu's face showed surprise. He didn't doubt what I said. I smiled mysteriously. You'll know when the time comes. Xiaohu, to avoid any accidents, take your men and keep a close watch on the construction at the western outskirts. Best finish it within those 10 days. Then we'll need another few days to transport the supplies.
All right, boss, I'll head over now.
After he left, I made a secret phone call.
Xiao Guo, over the past month, you've made quite a stir.
As soon as the call connected, an old voice came through. I spared no expense to build a massive shelter, and it's become known across the nation. You flatter me, He Jingshan. I exchanged pleasantries, then got straight to the point. I want to buy 160 billion in gold. He Jingshan, can you do me a favor?
What do you need so much gold for?
Could you not ask, He Jingshan? With that, I transferred 1 billion to his account. No one knows better than me that when the disaster comes and a unified currency is issued, this money will depreciate heavily.
Fine, I'll help you.
He must have seen the credit alert. He was just asking questions, but now he agreed right away. Much obliged, He Jingshan. Can you have it ready within a week?
Sure. I'll hand over the gold when you pay the money.
After a bit of chit-chat, I ended the call. Time flew by, and before I knew it, it was May 28th. That day, the huge shelter in the Western Gobi, built at a cost of nearly 10 billion, covering over 500,000 square meters, stood there like a small city. The visual impact was immense. The thick walls rose over 600 meters high, about 20 meters thick. Every so often, a wind turbine stood on the walls. High above, an electric grid hung overhead to guard against attacks from vicious birds. On the walls, countless solar panels were fixed in place. Not only were the surrounding walls made of reinforced concrete, but the ground inside the shelter was too. Even the base and surfaces were covered with thick steel plates. The world is changing. Apart from the tattooed, all creatures are evolving. Rats and ants are extremely dangerous now. Looking around inside the walls, buildings stand in rows. It can accommodate tens of thousands of people.
My God. What a massive structure.
The richest man in Longjiang built such a shelter. What is he up to?
I heard he even sold the Hengyu Group.
Could the apocalypse in novels and movies really be coming?
Outside the shelter, many streamers gathered, along with crowds who'd traveled far to watch. Gazing at this behemoth, everyone was utterly awestruck.
Miss Sue, given our relationship, the real reason he built this shelter, you truly don't know anything?
In the back seat of a luxury business sedan, a stunning woman radiating elegance withdrew her gaze from the distant behemoth and turned to Su Qingyuan beside her. This was the one who acquired the Hengyu Group, the real power behind the scenes. Lin Wanqing, the young lady of the Lin family, one of the 5 great clans in the capital. Su Qingyuan shook her head bitterly.
My boss really told me nothing. If you know him at all, you know what kind of man he is. He would never tell his subordinates any of his plans.
I certainly know him. I've dealt with him more than once. He's truly a man hard to read. As far as I know, the supplies transported in from outside a few days ago, if stored properly, could sustain 10,000 people for at least 3 years. Why would he do that?
She wasn't the only one puzzled. Countless conglomerates in Cathay were just as baffled. But none thought he simply didn't care. But even if they had, it would already be too late to do anything. Just then, in the distance, dust billowed, as over 100 military jeeps, front and back, escorted a luxury commercial sedan this way.
Here they come, folks.
Look, that should be the convoy of Longjiang City's richest man.
The streamers on site all aimed their phones at the approaching convoy. The convoy ignored the streamers and the crowd, and stopped before the massive steel gate. The heavy iron gate slowly opened, and the convoy drove into the shelter. Inside the car,
Chairman, it's lived up to your high expectations. This shelter. I, Wu Bingfeng, stake my life on it. There is absolutely no hidden danger.
Wu Bingfeng sat down across from me, thumping his chest in assurance.
Now, shouldn't you tell me why you had it built?
Zhong Xiaohu poured me half a glass of red wine, and chuckled.
Why? The apocalypse is coming, of course. Haha, on June 1st, Children's Day, no less.
Hearing this, Wu Bingfeng looked hesitant.
Ha 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 ha. Believe it or not, I have 100% faith in the boss. You'd better bring your family in over the next couple of days.
Wu Bingfeng opened his mouth to speak. I took a sip of the red wine. No rush. You have a day to think it over.
I believe you.
Wu Bingfeng gritted his teeth.
I'll bring my family over tomorrow. After all, June 1st is almost here. If it's true, that's a blessing, and if it's false, no harm done.
Next, led by Wu Bingfeng, I toured this colossal shelter, built at a cost of 10 billion. For power, there are wind turbines, solar panels, and 50,000 large generators. Over 300,000 tons of oil reserves. The protective measures are top-notch. Being here, the only thing I worry about is the grid above, running out of power. There are also several factories, like a clothing factory and a food factory, and a general factory making daily necessities. There's also farmland and vegetable zones, with a huge stockpile of various seeds. As for meat, we just need to hunt the mutated monsters then. After inspecting the shelter, it was already evening. I had personally checked almost every key area. All in all, I was very satisfied. In the blink of an eye, it was May 31st. At night, the shelter was ablaze with lights, but it felt rather empty. On the observation deck, Zhong Xiaohu and I sat around drinking tea and chatting. The night sky is dotted with stars. The silver moon hangs high. It's calm and peaceful, with no sign of what's to come.
Boss. I'm so excited.
Zhong Xiaohu takes a sip of tea. The excitement within him is beyond words. The countdown to the collapse of order has begun. A sinister smile spreads across my face. As we chat, time flies by. Before we know it, it's 11:55. At this moment, the shelter only has Wu Bingfeng's family of 3, along with Zhong Xiaohu's 108 brothers. All of them are tattooed. Gazing at the night sky, he says slowly, "Tonight will be a sleepless night."
Boss, it's 11:58.
Zhong Xiaohu's heart races with excitement. His eyes are glued to the countdown on his phone. As the time hits 0, suddenly a bolt of light flashes across the sky, as if splitting the planet's atmosphere open, followed by a blood-red thunderclap. A vivid red flash lights up the entire world's night. When its glow fades, the originally bright and clear moon now appears eerily crimson, casting its light over the dark night, radiating an ominous glow. As the midnight bell tolls 12, my good brother Zhong Xiaohu suddenly clutches his head and screams, "Boss!
Boss, my head feels like it's exploding. The tattoos on my body are burning hot. It's like they're about to burst out of me."
At this moment, the black tiger tattooed on his back and the Demon King tattoo on his chest seem to hold an incredibly powerful force ready to burst out. Then Zhong Xiaohu passes out cold. Just as I'm about to step forward to check on him, I suddenly cough up a mouthful of blood. Damn it, in my mind. 11 violent streams of psychic energy are wreaking havoc, as if trying to shred my head apart. At the same time, the black dragon on my left arm, the white tiger on my right arm, and the various tattoos all over my body all surge with intense heat. A surging power rampages through my body. Soon, my bones begin to crack. Within a few short breaths, I'm on the brink of death. Then, from within me, the roars of the black dragon, white tiger, and Qilin erupt. The vibrations shatter my flesh. Am I going to die? At this moment, I'm in despair. Through my blurred vision, I seem to see a black dragon circling, a grim reaper staring down, an asura laughing cruelly, the great sage and Neza mocking me, a skeleton cackling, a nether god sneering with contempt, and a lofty Rahu looking at me as if I'm an ant, seeing that I truly can't withstand it. I never thought a second life would end this way. Filled with deep unwillingness, I close my eyes helplessly. But then, the strange mark in my right palm begins to glow with a faint greyish-white light. It pours into my body and mind. A miraculous scene unfolds. My life force, which had plummeted to the limit, not only stabilizes instantly, but also begins to recover at an astonishing speed. The tattoos everywhere are now shimmering with different colored lights. Then, 11 phantom tattoos surged out of my body. In the end, they all returned and hid back inside me. They submitted willingly. Meanwhile, all over the world, as the mutation occurred, even a blade of grass instantly evolved to several meters tall. Its toughness and sharpness could easily pierce a human body. During the mutation, animals kept letting out sharp, high-pitched roars. People with pets at home were stunned. House cats and dogs suddenly mutated, their bodies swelling immensely. They looked even more ferocious than tigers. But none of them hurt their owners, because even though they mutated, they all gained sentience. As time went on, outside the walls of the steel shelter, pairs of glowing eyes flickered one after another. Fortunately, this shelter was absolutely safe for now. No idea how long had passed. 108 brothers with demon tattoos gradually woke up.
What powerful strength.
So this is why the boss made us get tattoos?
Sensing the demon tattoos on their backs, and the endless power within them, they all looked incredulous. They tried to use the power of the demon tattoos. It was a demon armor covering their entire bodies. On the observation deck, before long, Tiger also slowly woke up, then he gasped. His body was wrapped. On his back was a black tiger tattoo. On his chest was a demon king. Two terrifying forces intertwined inside him. He tried to use the black tiger's power. In an instant, his entire body was covered in a spectacular black tiger battle armor.
That's a thing.
Then he tried using the Demon King tattoo. Instantly, the black tiger armor evolved. It became an even cooler Demon King tiger armor. On his back grew a pair of sci-fi-looking tiger-striped king wings. With a slight flap, he shot into the sky. Then, looking down from above, he saw the 108 brothers gathered in the square. With a light flap of his wings, he landed here with a loud bang.
Tiger, this power.
A group of brothers in demon armor stepped forward. Their faces showed indescribable excitement. That's awesome.
Have you seen the boss?
They shook their heads.
No, he hasn't shown any sign.
Finally, Tiger dismissed his armor.
You all stay here. I'll go check on the boss.
Meanwhile, in the bedroom, I had just washed off the blood and came out. After awakening, the tattoos on my body seemed alive, giving off an incredibly terrifying pressure. Looking at the strange grey-white mark in my hand, I knew it had saved me. What exactly are you? I couldn't help muttering to myself. I was extremely curious about the mystery of this mark. As for me now, even without using the true power of my tattoos, my physical strength had become insanely strong. Even armor-piercing bullets, I felt I could catch them with my bare hands. With a thought, the blood spear tattoo on my forehead emitted an eerie crimson glow. Then, the tattoo disappeared in front of me, turning into a spear. With a flicker of intent, the blood spear darted through the room like lightning. Next, I channeled the Shura tattoo. Instantly, a dark red armor covered me. I channeled the Black Dragon tattoo. My Shura armor began to change, coated with Black Dragon patterns. The volatile aura turned even more savage as I channeled the White Tiger tattoo. A surge of white light erupted behind me, and 36 tiger stripe throwing knives materialized. They hovered silently behind me, submissive, but then I realized I could only wield the power of 4 tattoos at once. I channeled the Great Sage tattoo. Instantly, a terrifying force surged from within me. Behind me loomed the majestic phantom of the Great Sage. Raging power streamed endlessly through my body. I channeled the Qilin tattoo. Black flames swirled around the Qilin armor that enveloped me. My power skyrocketed. At this moment, I found I couldn't activate any other tattoo. I immediately dismissed them, the Qilin armor and the Great Sage's phantom. I channeled the Death God tattoo. In an instant, a pitch-black aura of death spread over me. Then the Death God's armor covered me. The deathly power surging inside me felt as if it came from the abyss of hell. I channeled the Skull tattoo, and in my palm, a long skeletal scythe materialized. It was wreathed in a sinister, suffocating aura. After activating them, I couldn't use any other tattoo again. Then I dismissed them. I tried to channel the Rahu tattoo. I immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. With my current body, I simply couldn't activate it. As expected of the demon race, Rahu was on an entirely different level from the other tattoos. Then I channeled the Hades tattoo. A powerful force erupted from within me. A layer of grey runes covered my body, pulsing with a suffocating grey glow. I channeled the Neza tattoo, but to my surprise, the Hades tattoo instantly disintegrated. My entire body underwent a dramatic transformation. I actually turned into the awakened Neza from the movie Ninja. I knew all the tattoos were only level 1, so they weren't invincible. In my past life, many superscript users had reached level 9. Their strength was terrifying. A mere gesture could level a mountain. Next, I explored the characteristics of the various tattoos. The White Tiger tattoo, when used alone, also appeared as armor. My current body simply couldn't take 3 layers of armor at once. Both my Shura armor and Black Dragon armor were extremely powerful. Each one, on its own, was stronger than Zhong Xiaohu's dual armor. Meanwhile, mutant beasts were wreaking havoc throughout the city. Having gained sentience, they even broke into homes to hunt humans. The military deployed tanks and fighter jets for rescue. At that moment, in a villa district of Longjiang City, outside a grand villa, a mutated Tibetan Mastiff was as big as a van. It was crouched there, keeping guard, and in the hall of the villa that the Mastiff guarded, Lin Wanqing was curled up on the sofa, listening to the roars outside and the shrill screams from the neighboring villa. She was engulfed by deep fear and despair. Unfortunately, her pet Tibetan Mastiff had also mutated, but it didn't harm her. She had called home earlier, and her family was in chaos, with no mind to care about her. Suddenly, the Mastiff outside the door let out a roar.
Wanqing, are you in there?
At the same time, Su Qingyuan's voice came through. Hearing this, Lin Wanqing was stunned for a moment. At a time like this, how could she be here? She quickly said,
Xiaobai, don't attack.
As she spoke, Lin Wanqing got up and hurried to open the door. She saw her Mastiff baring its teeth at an armored figure not far away. Judging by its curves, it was a woman. Su Qingyuan saw her come out.
Wanqing, it's me.
Lin Wanqing stared at her, utterly shocked.
Qingyuan, where in the world did this come from?
From the tattoo. Gu Jinchen had anticipated everything, including tonight.
After hearing Su Qingyuan's words, Lin Wanqing was dumbfounded.
The tattoo awakening is tonight's lifeline.
Thank you for thinking of me at a time like this.
Come with me to the shelter. Staying here is certain death.
Then what about you?
Su Qingyuan's expression turned bitter. She deeply understood that she could never return to that man. She had handed her family over to the military to come here.
Will he really take me in?
Your management skills are what he needs. In the new era, as long as you have value, he won't refuse.
Then, Lin Wanqing nodded and decided to set out. At the same time, outside the steel shelter, countless mutated beasts had gathered.
Over 1,000. These beasts are trying to dig their way in through the foundation.
142.1 8 brothers are all here in demon armor. Watching the mutant beasts wreak havoc outside, they were all itching for action. They wanted to go out and test their armor on them. Just then, a flock of vultures the size of fighter jets swept in, heading straight for the electric grid covering the whole shelter. Instantly, sparks flew everywhere. 100,000 volts of electricity was more than they could withstand. The moment they touched it, their bodies went rigid. Shortly after, I hurried over with Zhong Xiaohao.
Boss.
Seeing this, everyone came forward to greet him. So, are you satisfied with this armor?
This armor is incredible. Boss, you're truly a prophet.
Then I arranged for them to go out with me. Clear out all the mutants at the base of the wall. They all contain a crystal core inside. These crystal cores can help us cultivate and raise our tattoo levels.
They can also be upgraded.
Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. This is our era. With a thought, the Azura dragon armor covered him. His terrifying aura made everyone's hearts tremble. The tattoos on their bodies seemed greatly suppressed.
Boss, this armor of yours. I only have 2 tattoos. When I awakened, I nearly died. 1 more and I'm dead. You've got so many, how did you survive?
Actually, I almost bit it too. Maybe death didn't want me. That weird mark on my palm, I could never tell anyone about it. Right then, a piercing howl echoed over. I looked up. I saw a fox-like creature as big as a corgi. It swooped down under the blood-red glow. It circled outside the electric fence. This is the Gobi. There are plenty of animals out here. The most common are sand rats. Soon that corgi-sized fox-furred beast was staring right at me. Suddenly, it opened its mouth and shot out a beam of energy. It blasted straight at the electric fence. The beam hit the fence, but it didn't blast a hole through it like I expected. The fence just shook a little. No damage at all. Just then, Wu Bingfeng came up laughing.
Anti-penetration, special alloy. Built-in level 3 force dissipation matrix.
Zhong Xiaohu let out a long sigh of relief.
Boss, that beast can shoot energy from its mouth.
Energy is just the beginning. Soon they'll awaken powers that bend the laws of physics. Let's gear up with melee weapons from the armory. Then, I looked at the fox-furred beast circling outside. I'll take care of this one. Everyone nodded firmly when they heard that. We headed down in full force.
Boss, can you fly? How about I handle it instead?
With that, Zhong Xiaohu activated the Black Tiger and Demon King super runes simultaneously. In a flash, the winged Demon King Tiger armor clad his body. You just use your mental energy to fly. With that, I summoned the Black Dragon. With a dragon's roar, then, with a whoosh, I flew straight toward the shelter's heavy gate. Every time a super rune awakens, it grants its host an immense surge of psychic power. The psychic power from my 11 super runes is terrifyingly vast.
Boss, that works. I'm going to grab an alloy blade.
Super runes can manifest armor, but not weapons. In a few breaths, I arrived at the iron gate. I pressed the switch. The red and black Asura dragon armor with black dragon patterns flowing across it, radiating savage energy. With a thought, the blood spear rune at my brow awakened, turning into a blood spear in my hand. By then, the iron gate had opened a crack wide enough to slip through. I stepped out through the gap, holding the blood spear. As I appeared, hundreds of tiger-sized sand rats, sand crabs, and sand tigers gathered there, all locked their bloodthirsty, excited eyes on me. They roared and swarmed forward, as if fighting over prey. With a burst of sand and dust, my figure vanished on the spot. When I reappeared, the blood spear in my hand had already pierced through the head of a giant sand scorpion. Then, a terrifying force erupted, and the scorpion's whole head exploded. At that moment, several nearby sand rats lunged at me with jaws wide open. I was extremely fast. With a slight shift of my body, the blood spear flashed brightly. The heads of the 6 sand rats that had just lunged at me were all severed from their bodies. Bright blood splattered all over the ground. My super tattoo, though just one segment, was made by Anna herself, and it's the strongest tattoo in the world. Any surge of spiritual power during awakening could kill 90% of awakeners. Without the grey mark in my palm, I would surely die. At that moment, a sand fox nearly 2 meters long behind me opened its bloody maw and lunged straight at my head to bite. I sidestepped and moved above it, with a loud bang, and crushed it violently into the ground. At the same time, 6 sand rats on the left rushed over ferociously, screaming shrilly. The next second, the blood spear rose into the air, and crimson lightning flashed as it swept across. All 6 sand rats exploded and died. Each dropped a milky white crystal core the size of an index finger.
Boss, I'm coming. That beast is getting away. Chase it.
The next moment, I soared into the air, chasing after that fox fur in the direction it fled. Meanwhile, Xiaohu was exceptionally fierce, with tiger aura surging around him and demon king power flowing through him. He charged into the pack of mutant beasts with his machete, slaughtering them as easily as chopping vegetables. Xiaohu had just killed a few beasts when 171,108 brothers in demon armor swarmed out and joined the slaughter. At an altitude of over 2,000 meters, I was astonishingly fast, frantically chasing that fleeing fox fur. The fox fur turned its head and glanced at this human chasing it, feeling an immense threat from him. With intelligence no less than a human's, it ran for its life, unable to muster any courage to fight back. However, the distance closed quickly, and at this rate, it would be caught within a minute. The fox fur let out anxious howls and spat several beams of energy backward from its mouth. But a horrifying scene suddenly appeared. The human chasing it casually raised a hand, and easily destroyed the energy beams it spat out. Suddenly, the fox fur's feathers bristled. It turned its head and saw and was scared out of its wits. What came into view was a spear flashing with thunder, an incredibly ferocious blood spear. In the blink of an eye, it arrived before it. Then I threw a powerful punch and directly blasted the fox fur's body apart. A crystal core the size of a baby's fist came into view. For it to have such a large core this early in the mutation, if given time to grow, it would become a major threat to humanity. I then took this crystal core and headed back to the group of mutant beasts. There are also some beasts that, at the very beginning of the mutation, are already extremely powerful and have limitless potential. This fox fur belonged to that category, but at this stage, I'm absolutely invincible. In the night, a black cat 3 times the size of a tiger, with a woman on its back, moved at incredible speed, heading for the shelter.
Blackie, faster.
The woman on the black cat's back had a delicate, fair face that was deathly pale. In the dark night on the Gobi, countless eyes seemed to watch her. This woman was none other than Ruan, the top internet streamer. She had survived this long because her pet cat had mutated. All she wanted now was to get into that shelter. In her eyes, in Longjiang City now, only that shelter was safe. Right now, I'm like a killing machine. I can kill dozens of beasts per minute at least. After more than half an hour, the ground below the wall was soaked in blood. As far as the eye could see, mangled beast carcasses littered the ground. After the slaughter, everyone began collecting the crystal cores from the beasts. Boss, that was awesome. Outside the shelter's only open heavy iron door, Zhong Xiaohu returned carrying a blood-dripping alloy blade. His armor was also splattered with beast blood. He seemed like he hadn't had enough of killing. But I didn't respond to him. Instead, I looked up into the distance.
Boss, what are you looking at? What could possibly stop us here?
Then, I looked away. Desert army ants aren't much of a threat. Zhang Xiaohu was puzzled upon hearing this.
Army ants? How could there be such invasive species on this Gobi Desert?
This place was once a high-security prison. Last century, to prevent escapes, they introduced these creatures from Haizhou and released them into the impassable Death Gobi to intimidate the prisoners.
A century of roaming wild, whether they've gone extinct is still unknown. With blood scent this thick spreading out, the Qingyanfu deep under the Gobi will be lured out.
Just in case, tell everyone to speed up.
Boss's orders, everyone speed up. Clear the battlefield within 3 minutes.
The ants coming are like a free ore vein. In my past life, I heard that after this land mutated, desert army ants would show up a few months later. That's why I built the shelter here. The purpose is simple, to harvest crystal cores and rise quickly. But I know, this is only the beginning. Mutant beasts in the city are easy to deal with, but those in the mountains and wilderness are tricky. The greatest threat is the oceans, which cover 71% of the planet. When countless sea monsters crawl onto land, that will be humanity's true moment of despair. All coastal cities will be destroyed by sea beasts. Their numbers will be too vast to stop, so we must rise in the shortest time possible. After the brothers received Zhong Xiaohu's notice, they all collected crystal cores as fast as they could. After about 10 minutes or so, everyone was carrying large sacks of crystal cores. They gathered outside the main gate. Just as I was about to tell them to go back and refine, suddenly, a feline roar came from afar. There was a huge black cat sprinting toward us at over 10 meters per second. There seemed to be a woman on its back. In a few blinks, it was already in front of everyone.
Hey, isn't that Ruan, the famous influencer from the old world?
Zhong Xiaohu recognized the woman on the black cat's back at a glance. He teased. At that moment, seeing that she had arrived at the fortress, her tense heart finally relaxed. She said in a pitiful tone.
Hey, guys, can you let me into the shelter? Don't worry, I won't stay for free. I can do chores like cleaning and sweeping.
Seeing that they were all wearing cool armor, and the ground was covered with piles of beast corpses, she was very confused. But this wasn't the time to ask. Finally, her gaze fell on me. She thought I must be the richest man in Longjiang City, the owner of this shelter. I don't keep freeloaders here. I hope you'll keep your word.
You say east, I'll never go west.
Meanwhile, on the highway leading to the shelter, a Tibetan Mastiff as big as a van was sprinting at full speed. 2 women were on the dog's back. They were Lin Chen and Su Qingyuan. Suddenly, a red figure blocked their path. The Mastiff immediately roared. It opened its huge mouth and pounced at the figure. But the figure was extremely fast. With a slight dodge, it evaded, and shouted.
Sis, I finally found you using your phone's GPS.
Lin Chen, who had just been startled, looked closely. Joy suddenly lit up her face. She saw a man wearing flame dragon armor and looking about 18 or 19. Su Qingyuan stared at him in surprise. This is flame dragon armor. Unbelievable. I can't believe someone would inscribe such a thing on their body. Hearing this, Lin Moyu turned to look at her. Looking at the armor on her body, he knew she was also a tattoo awakener. He said with a low chuckle.
The Emperor's sequence is also riveted into my dermis. Sis, your destination coordinates.
The shelter in the western outskirts.
A civilian shelter's physical defense can't withstand high-level beast attacks. Following the fire coverage of the heavy armored army is the best option now.
The data simulation results are consistent. Military-grade defense is the best choice right now.
Lin Chen hesitated for a moment and said, all right then. We're not going. Meanwhile, on a hill in the western Gobi Desert, one could faintly see a dense swarm of ants the size of small buckets covering the sand dune as they swept past. They seemed to be heading toward the shelter. And right now, inside the shelter, which was 600 to 700 meters tall, the lights were blazing. In the previous hunt, we obtained a total of 21,321 crystal cores. I'll take 5,000. The rest will be distributed among the brothers. After distributing, everyone will go back to cultivate. Through spiritual power, they can absorb the pure energy inside the crystal cores. Then, in the villa's main hall, I dismissed my armor, looking at Ruan standing before me. Besides online begging, what other practical survival skills do you have?
I can learn anything,
I said flatly. Forget it. Hearing this, Ruan's heart trembled. In a tearful voice, she came up and hugged my leg and said pitifully,
the situation will definitely re-establish physical order. After order is restored, all the funds I get from online streaming, 100% will be transferred to you.
Your data projection model is very forward-thinking. The physical rebuilding of basic order is expected to be completed within a few months. The data projection model shows that after the physical order is rebuilt, the live streaming industry will usher in a new peak.
Young master, based on future long-term speculative gains, keep it as a kinetic asset.
As you wish. She's under your management now. Soon, in the bedroom, I sat cross-legged on the bed. Circulating my spiritual power, I absorbed and refined 5 crystal cores. Threads of milky white energy entered my body. First, they traveled through my flesh, bones, and cells, then they were devoured by the 11 tattoos separately. It was already past 3 in the morning. Time passed extremely quickly during cultivation. In the blink of an eye, dawn broke. But the sky was lifeless. Thick grey smog shrouded everything. At the same time, outside the capital's conference hall, 3 national treasure pandas dozens of meters tall stood guard, along with fully armed military troops and tanks. Those pandas in the zoo originally had the intelligence of 6 or 7-year-olds, but after the mutation, their IQs instantly matched humans. And they all knew they were national treasures. They had always been well-fed and well-treated. Now that the country is in crisis, how could they refuse to help? At this point, they're absolutely the top tier among mutated beasts. Beside the triangular conference table, 3 people sat facing each other. They were 3 middle-aged men around 50. All wore grave expressions. They stared at the devastated scene on the projected light screen. Long Zhenbang of the military said in a deep voice,
"This mutation came too suddenly. It caught us off guard."
I heard that in April, Gu Jinshan, the richest man in Longjiang City, invested 10 billion to build a large shelter in advance.
Could it be that he can predict the future?
Right, at the time no one took it seriously. Is he truly able to foresee the future, or was it just a coincidence?
Meanwhile, Huang Jinyao said,
the underlying logic of a zero probability event happening is definitely not a coincidence.
As he spoke, he swiped a few times on the virtual screen, switching the satellite video to the shelter. When they saw the scene there, all 3 of them gasped. What came into view was an boundless sea of army ants, each the size of an adult wolfdog. They surrounded the entire shelter in a dark mass, and desperately climbed up the walls. But when they reached over 10 meters, they were all electrocuted by the charged steel plates and fell.
The physical defense will be wiped out by an order of magnitude. Do we need to deploy heavy aviation squadrons for a carpet-style tactical bombing?
Cut to Gu Jinshan. He might know a lot. If he dies just like that, it would be a great loss. Let's first see if Gu Jinshan has a solution. If not, send more fighters over there.
Long Zhenbang from the military command suddenly spoke up.
Turn on the satellite network first, so we can get in touch with Gu Jinshan later.
Currently, Longjiang City has 6 underground shelters in total. Each one can hold over 100,000 people. With the help of many awakened ones, the military, in one night, saved nearly 400,000 people and brought them to the shelters. Now, somewhere in Longxian district, hundreds of fully armed soldiers, in 10 tanks, over a dozen buses that can hold more than 100 people, and several military jeeps. On the buses now, almost every seat is filled with terrified people. Rampaging through the residential area, rats even bigger than tigers are fearlessly charging the military's formation. Even with a barrage of firepower, they can barely be cleared out. Meanwhile, Lin Moyu, wielding the flame dragon blade, and Su Qingyuan are also here, helping to kill the rats that rush up close. Besides the 2 of them, more than a dozen awakened ones are also helping, but only one of them is an armored superhuman. The rest are superhumans who enhance their own strength. With their help, in less than an hour, they fought their way out of an encirclement of tens of thousands of rats. They all seem unaware that inside the mutant beasts there is a crystal core, which awakened ones can absorb. They didn't pay attention to those beast corpses. They broke out of the rat swarm's encirclement. Lin Moyu and Su Qingyuan are riding in the same jeep.
Your armor's physical load capacity and high-frequency output values exceeded my expected data. What is that totem sequence? For the subsequent area sweep, we need to establish an actual combat alliance.
Su Qingyuan lets out a soft laugh.
Sure.
She also had the idea of forming a team.
As your ally, you need to reassess the physical limits of my armor. The Emperor Armor Sequence. This is the physical anchor point of my second energy core. The Flame Dragon sequence is implanted on my sternum. My spine totem carries the Emperor sequence. After the collapse of physical constants, the old era's carbon-based ink underwent a hyperdimensional awakening. It's a miracle of probability.
At the same time, on the observation deck of the West Suburb Shelter, which is taller than the city wall, Zhang Xiaohu and his 108 brothers are all gathered here, staring at the dense swarm of army ants outside the wall. They all feel their scalps tingle. Wu Bingfeng frowns and says,
"It's breaking through our peak power threshold. The depletion rate of the power reserves has deviated from the safe calculation range."
But Zhang Xiaohu remains calm.
300,000 tons of physical liquid reserves, 50,000 heavy matrix units, together with surface wind and solar energy capture systems, and 15 days of physical isolation. We can use dual-level thermal energy to vaporize every carbon-based ant on the surface into ash.
Suddenly, a broadcast blared. I ordered them all to assemble at the gate. These ants will be the fuel for our rise. And I've also started a global live stream. I want the world to see what a truly safe shelter looks like. As for that tall trees catch the wind stuff, it's all a joke. Even under nuclear bombs, I'm invincible. But even if they drop one, I'll destroy it before it lands, unleashing my white tiger flying knives to take it out thousands of meters in the sky. Soon, in the highest council chamber, the national leaders look utterly shocked. They're all wearing rune armor. The satellite feed shows the area right in front of the shelter's gate, where Zhang Xiaohu and the others have gathered, all clad in rune armor. Seeing this, the three finally dare to be certain that Gu Jinchen knows the inside story. Xuan Yuanxi, the spokesman, speaks up.
They seem to be heading out to clear those army ants.
In the next moment, on the screen, I walk out of the villa. I instantly don the Death God suit, wielding a skull scythe, with a terrifying black aura of death seeping from my body.
What tattoos does he actually have on him? Definitely not few, and they all grant unmatched combat power. If we can recruit him, Cathay can quickly, in this catastrophe, stabilize the situation. First, let's see how strong he is. I hope he can become the core of our city and lead us out of our current predicament.
Meanwhile, inside the Longjiang 1-3 underground shelter, over 100,000 evacuees are all watching the live stream. And on the screen, it's me leading 108 brothers with demon tattoos in a fierce battle against the army ants. Giant ants, so dense they make your skin crawl, surround the walls of a huge shelter in an unbroken sea. Just then, the camera cuts to the shelter, to that group of armored rune users. Are all those people rune users? Countless eyes are glued to that group on the screen. At the same time, in front of the shelter gate, the crowd steps forward, clenching their fists. Then, I directly summon the Death God rune and Skeleton rune to possess me. Now I'm like the Grim Reaper from hell. The aura radiating from me makes everyone feel oppressed and uneasy. Then my voice, like the Reaper's, comes out from beneath the ferocious mask. Wu Bingfeng, split off 50 units to handle crystal core recovery. The remaining units enter unrestricted fire mode.
Orders confirmed.
Wu Bingfeng, clad in Flood Dragon armor, nods. Then, he counts out 50 brothers. Once the teams are formed, I press the button to open the door. The heavy iron door opens. I stand alone right before the iron door. The others watch from behind. When the iron door opens a gap for the army ants, they immediately swarm in, crawling through in massive numbers, filing inside one after another. I hoisted my skull scythe, and watched quietly as thousands upon thousands of army ants flooded in, each one as big as a full-grown wolf. Once the gate was a third open, countless ants had already swarmed to my feet. Just 7 steps away, survivors across the country watching the live stream couldn't help but hold their breath. The next moment, all around me, death energy like black mist materialized instantly. The skull scythe in my hand flashed with a sudden misty glow, and I swept it fiercely forward. In an instant, a chain of death dozens of meters long appeared, raging across like a tidal wave. In a split second, over 1,000 army ants caught in the sweep exploded and died. Milk-white crystals scattered all over the ground. Then, my hoarse, low voice rang out, "Clean up all the physical residue that got in." With a loud bang, I charged out first. The moment I left the gate, I saw countless black army ants surging in like a wave. I stomped hard on the ground, and with a thunderous roar, a violent death mist surged up from beneath, rolling forward and sweeping everything in its path. Any army ant that touched the death mist couldn't withstand it and exploded to death. The Reaper script and Skull script are the best for slaughtering and brawling. At the same time, Zhang Xiaohu and Zhao Lai charged out with over 50 brothers, fanning out to fight in all directions. Wu Bingfeng and his men followed right behind, their main goal being to collect the crystals. Because there were so many army ants, it was impossible to kill them all at once. As for whether we could repel them, no one knew. As they came out, those left behind shut the iron gate. A massacre of the alien beasts had just begun. Zhong Xiaohu gripped an alloy long blade, and amid the endless horde of ants, he could cut down several every second. Even if an army ant managed to crawl onto him, forget hurting him, it couldn't even leave a scratch on his armor. But I was the most ferocious one. As I swung my skull scythe, death mist bloomed, covering vast stretches of ground. Any army ant caught in it exploded and died without exception, leaving crystals scattered everywhere. Wherever I went, not a blade of grass survived, all life withered away. The nearby mutated vegetation, under the shroud of death mist, wilted and died in an instant. The brothers in demon armor were all ferociously powerful. In their eyes, there was only slashing and killing. Green blood covered the ground in no time. This was a one-sided slaughter. It would only end when they were exhausted.
That script bearer in the Reaper outfit is insanely awesome. One casual strike wipes out huge swaths of ants.
These script bearers are ridiculously strong. But how long can they hold out? Can they finish the job?
Countless survivors across the country are watching. Their strength is beyond doubt. But against the endless tide of ants, how long can they last? Around 10 minutes or so. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed across the distant land. Then I saw a van-sized ant king covered in hard scales slowly emerge from beneath that hill, standing atop it like an arrogant sovereign. Lantern-like eyes locked onto the human slaughtering his subjects wholesale. Finally, he let out a roar and made his move himself, charging straight at me. Everywhere he passed, the ants all cleared a path for him. Holy crap, that ant is huge. Why are the other ants so much smaller? The survivors watching the live stream stared at the van-sized ant king on screen, all gasping in shock. They worried about the totem users fighting over there. I swept aside the ants around me and turned my crimson gaze toward the charging ant king. To evolve this much in just one night, it must have devoured its own kind. This ant king is at least peak tier 3. Then, a wild, excited light blazed in my eyes. Dismissing the Reaper Skull totem, I instantly activated the Asura totem, the Black Dragon totem, the Blood Lance totem, the White Tiger totem. In an instant, my body was clad in the Asura dragon armor. A blood lance appeared in my palm, 36 white tiger throwing knives floated behind me. I charged the incoming ant king with the blood lance, exploding into motion. Wherever I passed, dragon might ravaged the area. Asura power rippled through the air, kicking up a storm of shockwaves. The army ants along the way were utterly annihilated. Up on the observation deck, Zhao Yutong, Wang Ruoxi, Wu Nyangxi, and her mother Li Hulan were watching. They looked at me, bursting with aura, overwhelmingly dominant, as I charged the army ant king. Their soft, beautiful eyes sparkled with wonder. Their hearts fluttered at the sight of my stance. Holy shit, how many totems does he have? That armor is freaking epic and divine. Can he beat the Ant King? Countless survivors watched the scene before them, all utterly stunned, and me, in the Asura dragon armor, wielding the raging blood lance against the army Ant King. That dominant stance sent many female viewers' hearts racing. Meanwhile, in the capital's highest council chamber,
the nervous system of a regular person would physically burn out when activating even the first totem. How on earth did he, on a physical level, pull off this suicidal totem stacking without being torn apart?
Huang Jinyao stared in utter shock. Late last night, they learned that awakening a totem is excruciatingly painful. Even a slightly stronger totem could kill its wielder during awakening.
We must win this one over. He'll be Cathay's anchor.
Right. With him on our side, we can ignite hope in all survivors.
We need such a powerful super tattoo bearer to lead all super tattoo bearers. Let's talk about this later. First, let's see what he's got. His eyes locked onto the screen, the Ant King and me closing in. Meanwhile, at Longjiang City's No. 3 underground shelter, inside a private room. How can that guy's super tattoo armor unleash such power? Lin Moyu felt indignant. He watched the TV quietly, just his aura could shock the nearby army ants to death. It was both awe-inspiring and infuriating. He had thought that with the Flame Dragon Emperor armor, no superpowered being in the world could measure up, but unexpectedly, someone appeared whom he couldn't shake. It wasn't that the Emperor armor was weak, it was that the super tattoos I carry were never simple Black Dragon, Shura, White Tiger. These beings, even in a fantasy world, are at the pinnacle of existence. His Emperor armor, across the globe, truly had few rivals. But comparing it to me was asking for humiliation.
Stop running those meaningless energy simulations in your head. You can't see through him because he's already completed an exact prediction of every possible physical path. He has 11 independent totems anchored inside him. Each is an ancient myth from a forbidden zone of humanity. 11 suicidal energies surge impacts. Not only did he survive, he achieved absolute physical enslavement of them.
11 myth class. The awakening heat of each one could instantly vaporize cell fluid. What physical structure is he using to sustain them?
This is the physical paradox between us and him. For him, the existing formula of human evolution is invalid.
11.
Just then, a loud boom rang out. The Ant King and I collided. The blood spear pressed hard against him. Those sharp teeth inside his gaping maw, a thunderous crash erupted, a terrifying force exploded, sending yellow sand everywhere, swallowing our figures completely. 36 white tiger flying daggers glinted with cold light. Through the raging sand and debris, a final clang of metal rang out, as if striking metal. The Ant King let out a roar, and the 9 blade-like things on the inside of its 6 thick legs detached, guided by its will, whirling toward me. At the same time, energy gathered in the Ant King's mouth, and it blasted out an energy beam as thick as a water tank. That thing's scales, even my white tiger daggers couldn't break them. At least at the late 4th tier, how many of its own kind had it devoured? Could it be that it knows? Can it evolve by devouring the crystal cores of its own kind? My crimson eyes flickered from beneath my armor. This Ant King reacts way too fast, too late to dodge the beam it spat out. And the 54 sharp spikes it hurled at me. With a raise of my hand, a black dragon-shaped shield formed before me. With a thunderous boom, the energy beam and 54 spikes struck. A violent surge of power erupted. I steadied myself, never expected that. In just a little more than one night, it could evolve into a late-stage level 4 beast. In my previous life, it would have been an epic-level monster. Then the Ant King walked out from the yellow sand. The 54 half-meter-long spikes floated in front of it. Its lantern-sized eyes stared at me with mockery. How is this possible? How strong is this Ant King, exactly? Seeing this, the survivors and the awakened across the country had their hearts in their mouths. If even he can't kill that Ant King, then among all the awakened, who could do it? On the viewing platform, Wang Zhonghe, who had taken care of Gu Qingcheng for over 10 years, clenched his fists, his face full of worry. But Ruan believed with absolute certainty that this man couldn't possibly stop here. The last breath of the physical order ends here. My gaze turns cold. Life is hell's death knell. With a mere thought, the Nether God's power activated. In an instant, an even more violent power surged from within me. The dragon marks on the Asura dragon armor faded, covered in eerie grey runes. At the same time, behind me, as if from my spine, 2 ferocious black dragons suddenly sprouted from my back. Their deep blue dragon eyes were majestic and savage. The indestructible dragon scales shimmered with an icy sheen. After refining 5,000 crystal cores last night, although my ability didn't evolve, my physical body's stress tolerance rose a full tier. It can withstand the stacking of 3 armor sets for a short period. I say, short period, because the burden on my body is just too great. In this state, I can barely hold on for about half an hour.
Asura, Black Dragon, and Nether God, 3 different kinds of armor, forcibly fused together on the physical level.
Lin Muyu's eyes were about to pop out of his head. His Flame Dragon and Emperor armors can only activate one at a time now. As for activating both at once, he tried it once, and nearly blew himself to pieces. But this guy here can actually activate 5 simultaneously. Not just him, all the awakened with 2 or more tattoos across the country were utterly astounded.
Being able to activate 4 tattoos at once is already insane, and yet he can activate 5.
The data from last night shows that at this stage, let alone activating 5 abilities at the same time, even activating 2, no one has been able to do it.
The physical limit of the carbon-silver structure fails at this very moment. Beneath this kid's dermis lies a physical black box we cannot understand.
He isn't an awakened, he's a physical vessel of some higher dimension.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to us for the latest updates.